Welcome back to the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp. I am your host. This is episode 7 of the International Leadership Podcast, where we give you good leadership strategies and interview some great leaders from around the world. Today, we have an extremely special guest, Mrs. World Congeniality, Valeriya. And thank you. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast. Why don't you say hello to our audience, and then we'll start getting into a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to thank you so much for inviting me and hosting in your impactful show. I would like to thank our audience for taking the time to be listening and diving into our knowledge and actually spending the most precious commodity what they can give to us. It's their time. It's we know it's a rare gem in our modern world, right? Everybody is so in speediness and busyness, but to find really time and sit and listen. So I'm so happy, and thank you so much for your team, because we know the great leader. Yeah, they say it's everything about that, but actually it's leadership. It's also about team and finding the right people. So thank you so much I know who's helping us out there. Right. So thank you and I don't know the whole your team, but thank you so much for making it happen. So I'm very privileged and very, excited to be on your show.
Thank you. So Valeriya, you may not know that you are our first international guest on the International Leadership Podcast. So this is a very special day. We're super happy to have you here. You are coming to us from Norway. And you were born and raised you're born in Russia, raised in Ukraine, spent most of your early life in Ukraine, and then moved to Norway. Tell us a little bit more about your life, your experiences. What was it like growing up? Go ahead.
First of all, thank you. I had no idea that actually I'm a debutant or inaugurational voice of your international presence. So it gives me even more excitement, of course, and I'm so thrilled to be first international a guest of your impactful show. Yes, you know what? It's very nice question, and actually you can go to so many different directions, but I can stay and encourage everybody always to be so grateful for all your paths, and it doesn't matter where you come from. I came from very humble beginnings. What we call it, made in Soviet. Right, and now you know what's going on. We don't touch in this really deeply political situation, which is very painful still. But I was born in Russia, and 4 months old or young, I was brought to Ukraine, and I was brought up in Ukraine, and actually I've been living there until 25 years old. So I still, every time I have the opportunity, say I'm very proud Ukrainian, because really the culture and everything what is connected with our mentality really deeply in my roots and in my heart. And I believe so much that actually the DNA of our childhood impacts so much of our adulthood mindset. And nowadays it's more usual to raise up this topic about childhood impact and actually a lot of trauma experience, because I think so many things we are experiencing in the childhood really patterns how we enter in the teenager and kind of grown up lives. So anyway, I choose to think that it's very grateful to be aware of all your humble beginnings. And actually my whole life was shaped by the experience I I was building there in Ukraine, right? I moved to Norway. I was 25 years old, yes, but I already believe I have achieved quite a lot in my time in Ukraine. It was education. My first master degree, it was in finance, and I was always, very passionate culture explorer and still lifetime student and learner every single day. I think we should be hungry to gain more knowledge actually every single day, and sometimes it can be kind of challenging. I cannot stop. I have to study and to evolve, develop myself all the time. But I think it's very nice skills, especially for leaders, because they are leading, right, and make an impact through leadership, because it's really visibility and responsibility. And I think it's very nice when you skill and develop yourself all the time, so you can set the example for other people who are around you. But what really
on the topic of leadership now, just to emphasize, everyone is a leader. Everyone has an impact and an influence on the world around them. So literally every listener, everyone who's observing us from anywhere in the world at any position is a leader in their own lives, and everyone can gain value from this. But you were recognized kind of at an early age for your leadership skills and abilities. And I think you spent some time here in the US, that they brought you over on a program after recognizing your leadership experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Oh yeah, thank you so much. You actually the first one that have mentioned that, because we had very nice pre-podcast conversation, and we took us right on our journeys to actually merge even more and to give more value to your audience. So thank you for mentioning it. It was a huge thing for me, and especially probably for my mom, because she raised me alone without father. And actually, at that time when I won the big prize award, which was established by Washington Bureau of Education, and when I started participating, I was just 23 years old, and I was working and in hospitality, actually at the hotel. But all of a sudden, I could hear that we had this huge grant program for Soviet countries, that we can participate in competition many months, like in written format, in the interviews, how we can develop the branch or domain we were working. And first I kind of was really hesitating. Heck, how can I participate and really make impact? I'm so young. I said, but you should really never underestimate. If you have these leadership skills and you do believe in yourself, that you really can be helpful and your unique voice can make impact, you should always go for that. So long story short, I've been participating in all these kind of selective tours, right? And I was the one which was so young. From all these years, they pick up different countries, and at that time was 2003. It was Ukraine, and they tried to find finally 10 persons, 10 leaders from different domains, that they could gain knowledge in the US. And actually all my colleagues in this delegation, we were like a governmental delegation, they were like over 40s, and I was just 23. I was like, really, wow. So it was tremendously impactful, because first of all, I got this governmental visa, and I could visit 9 different cities in US and Chicago, and I could also work there. I remember, like, for me, 5 stars intercontinental hotel. I was 23 years old, girl from Ukraine, from actually days when I didn't have like enough money for food or for my, it was like totally another plan. So back to that.
So I will switch our sides again. Thank you. There we go.
What did you say?
I was just asking Kevin to switch us back to. I prefer when you're on that side.
And actually, you know what? Because all my podcasts, when I participate, is actually opposite. So for me now, it's like my brain really tried to adapt and to switch. Because usually I choosing to look on this side, but it's okay. I love that.
I line up my camera better. That I look like, if I'm looking at you, I look like I'm looking more in the camera. If I look at me, I look like I'm looking off to the side somewhere. So that's why I prefer
how you want
it. But anyway, so continue. So you're 23 years old. You're being recognized as a leader in Ukraine amongst all these other people who are much older. and then
thousands,
they
but
ship you off to the
thousands.
United States, and you're here in these 5-star hotels. It must have been a totally like a mind-blowing experience. What did they recognize you for in leadership? What was it, your effectiveness in the hotel industry, or what kind of things, like what kind of leadership skills do you think you were demonstrating that made people see you as this leader?
Yes, it's a nice question. Probably we should have asked them at that time, but I am sure, actually, first of all, that I even dare to participate. And let's be honest, when we went to the university and attended different subjects and topics, those it was finance, and we kind of have also subject of English, but even at that time, it was so early after the Soviet Union collapse, they still taught us English in that way that we could never actually operate and really communicate on English. But for me, because I was, like I said, always hungry in learning, so it was my own initiative since I was like maybe 11 or 12 years old to teach English, or no, to learn English and to get these skills. So for me, first of all, what could really distinguish me, it was the level of English, I think so. And this passionate willingness to learn more, and actually, because the whole program was that how you can implement the knowledge when you are coming back to your country. And they
Right.
know, like, young, passionate, hungry girl, which still has the whole, like, planet and the whole time for herself, and now with this hungriness to the knowledge. But I think not just that, probably perseverance, because it was so many different, like, type of selections you had to go through. And I think also they can see immediately the negotiation skills, because still we are leaders, yes, now. But I mean, social interaction is so important. In every interaction, I always could find the tone how I should speak, first of all from the position of respect, and I think the respect is really the glue between all cultures, and it's really door opener for all leaders, because now we are so international. And I think they call it soft topic, like culture, right? Cultural
Right.
organizational culture is soft, but this is absolutely not just soft topic, because we
Right.
know I'm coach now and I'm mentor for big corporations about neurodiversity, but I still talking to them that and I present it like part of social sustainability, and I can break down to that later what it is. But I'm talking with top achievers and CEO and said, you know what, we know cash and revenue, it's a oxygen of corporate and organizations, but organizational culture is nervous system,
Yeah.
basically. And if nervous system is failing, then also your oxygen and even inhaling will be hurt. So
Yeah.
everything goes back to actually the social part, human interaction. And in every interaction, I remember I was always so focused on learning. And like we were joking today, you and me, like, we have 2 ears, one mouth, that we should actually learn
Listen.
and reflect double as we're talking. Okay, I'm not what I can do, right? I even don't give the opportunity to you to break. So probably I should just pause this and say, what's
You're
next?
doing
But
you're doing
anyway, the
great. Keep
leadership, yeah,
you're on a roll. Keep rolling. But I like the and I pointed out myself as well. Like it's a clear analogy. We have 2 ears and one mouth, and our mouth closes, our ears never do. Take the object lesson in that and run with that. Do more listening. I call it listen first leadership. A lot of people like to speak first, but to be that listener who just engages with other people and listens, there's just so much we can gather. One of us is not as intelligent as all of us together. So being a good listener is really where we're going to learn. We learn from listening and engaging with others. So I like that. And I just want to go back and just double touch on some of the things that you mentioned in leadership, that drive, that passion for making a difference, right? So I like that leaders have a passion, and I think people, I don't think, I know this, people follow leaders who are passionate about making a difference, right? It's not about selfishness, it's about giving to others. And it's being passionate about doing that, having a skill set, being passionate with it, helping other people. I think that that trifecta combination is really where we find our purpose. And when we're driven by that purpose, people automatically want to follow that leadership. I think people saw that from you at an early age. The other thing is that you had this insatiable desire, and still have this insatiable desire to continue learning and continue developing. And that's a key skill in leadership. Everybody that I know that's successful has made themselves a nonstop student of, you know, continuous personal development. And I've quoted before, if we're not on the journey to become the better version of ourselves, the default is that we're going to become a worse version of ourselves. So, so with that, you know, take us through. You know, you won Mrs. World Congeniality back. I think it was it 2022 that you won that Mrs. World Congeniality. So that's got to be amazing. And you're launching a program from OCD to PhD. And you had your own struggles through this time. Tell us some of those struggles that you've been through, and some of the strategies that you've gone through to help overcome internal struggles, external struggles. You know, everyone deals with, you mentioned before, everyone deals with trauma. We're all dealing with challenges. I say that life is not a flat race, it's an obstacle course. And when we can just expect that there's going to be obstacles coming, and we know how to handle those obstacles, we're going to be more successful. So what kind of transferable experiences have you had that the audience can learn from, that our audience can say, wow, you know what, I can do that too. She did that. I can overcome that same kind of obstacle.
Thank you so much, first of all, for a nice feedback and reflection. What I try to puzzle from all this picture, because I know sometimes, and it's also what I'm working deliberately, nonstop as well, that leaders, they should lead in so many ways. Yes, like you and me talk, that we have 2 years, and it's fundamentally important that leaders really give the place, time, and can facilitate to listen, not just to hear, but really deeply listen to all the people they are engaged with. Because you know what, especially now I can touch a little bit about neurodiversity, neurodivergence, especially people who has this mental uniqueness. I'm choosing now to put it in this positive affirmative language, not just medical language. Because if people don't know, all of a sudden they are coming to your impactful show, but they have never heard about this term, which actually, ironically enough, I discovered just 2 years ago. Being neurodivergent, or actually diagnosed with OCD, it's obsessive compulsive disorder. I got my diagnosis for 15 years ago. No, more. My kid 17 years ago. That's true, actually. And all those years, like you said, it was never a flat race. It was even sometimes really a roller coaster, and emotional, first of all, but then emotions impact our actions. Because if you're emotion low, then self-limiting beliefs, they are taken all over place, right? And then self-limiting beliefs, they lead you to self-limiting opportunities, right? And then it's actually impact the whole your life, and the way you self-advocate and self-govern yourself. It's actually the first puzzle in the whole leadership chain. It's self-leadership, right? It's so important that by being able to be connected so much and aligned with your core values, and know who you are and actually how you function, and especially your brain. And for people with neurodivergence, I can explain it very easy, who doesn't know this term, neurodiversity. It's actually so simple. It's like biodiversity of brains. It's colorful and powerful diversity of cognitive executive functions. But what is difference between medical language, like, oh, you have disorder, disability, you have ADHD, OCD, or something? It's immediately actually labeled, and it's so negatively charged language, and it
Yeah.
stick immediately with yourself, right? And we know
We
we
should
are
we should relabel OCD to OCS, obsessive compulsive superpower.
exactly. And you
And
know what?
ADHD will make it uh, attention superpower. We'll just call it
Absolutely.
AS, attention
Exactly
superpower.
what I'm not just preaching, but I'm working through my every single day. It's part of my leadership advocacy. First of all, for myself, self leadership, right, and self governance, but also in the first row, who is actually we're impacting most of our family and kids, and then ripple effect to our employees and people, our peers and our mentees. And I'm always saying now that OCD action or any type of neurodivergence, it's not weakness, it's uniqueness. It's
Yes.
also part of my OCD talk. No, TED talk. It's my third show today. It's part of my TED talk that OCD or any kind of neurodivergence, not weakness, it's cognitive uniqueness or even cognitive edge. It's not disability, it's plus ability or it's possibility, right?
Right.
And it's
It's
not
also,
disorder, it's
it's not a
disorder.
disability, it's a possibility. It's not a disorder,
Exactly.
it's
It's not disorder, but it's disorder. It's different
different
order
order.
how our brain wired, and it's so
Nice.
beautiful because fingertips are all different, DNA are all different.
Yes.
Since the snow actually came, you know how many centuries? You know what? I had no idea, but there is no one single snowflake which is actually alike as another one. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? This is it's and look all the
I've been
questions.
checking. I've never found them the same. Every winter time I go out there, I document them, I draw them out, and I've
Feel
never seen
so
two alike.
silly. We are so obsessed. I'm not
That's
obsessed, but I
good.
live in Norway, and what we are talking about all the time here, people, it's weather and it's snow. Today even was snowing. It's snowing all the
Wait, it
time.
snowed today?
Yeah, it can be in May. One day speaking like okay, but summer. I say summer. There are just two winters here, white and green. We don't have summer. Or this weekend I was sick, But okay, we just joking that leader they have tremendous nice sense of humor, right? Yeah. So back to our neurodivergence, or what we were talking about. You see
So,
now.
so the superpowers of neurodiversity, and really, if we, especially when we talk about like being obsessive, I had
Mhm.
one of the just a couple of podcasts ago, we renamed CEO. We relabeled the O in CEO obsession. If you're not obsessed with what you're doing, like that's not going to be Thank you, Kevin. Commitment, effort, obsession uh, was the acronym for CEO. If we're not obsessed about what we're doing, we're not going to be successful. Everybody who's achieved tremendous success, it's taken a level of OCD, a level of obsession with that, or let me say OCS again, obsessive compulsive superpower, to be able to focus that many times. Like, Tiger Woods has to hit golf balls thousands of times a day, right? Michael Jordan, these are all showing my
uh,
age here a little bit with my
I was
sports
saying about.
stars.
Mhm.
But, what does it take? It takes a little bit of obsession to get there, to practice early, to practice so hard, to practice so long. And we do see a lot of successful people that have a level of obsession in what they're doing. It requires that. And so to really develop that as a superpower and to see this as a superpower, and we would have, if modern medicine today had worked with some of our most geniuses in the past, Tesla, who we mentioned earlier, and Albert Einstein, like we would have medicated them out of being geniuses, and we wouldn't have most of the discoveries today, like Thomas Edison. What kind of obsession does it require to go 10,000 times to try to invent a light bulb? That's obsessive. It was necessary. People had to do that. That's a superpower. So
Thank you so much, for your advocacy, because it's exactly what I'm talking on so many shows now, and when I'm hosting my podcast, or actually Pishcast, and I have shared this story with you with our pre-podcast session today, right? But I would like also your audience to know I was not born all of a sudden leader, and now every single day I'm so perfect, flawless, and everything really like, so smoothly. No, guys, I started my podcast, which is called Diversity of the is the Game Changer, which I called, like, ironically enough, like Pishcast, in pyjama in my in mental institution for 2 years ago, and again, jokingly enough, I applied for get award because so many people really, after me being open about that, they were so inspired and actually came to me and said, Valeriya, you know what? You were like inspirational flame for us to not feel guiltiness or ashamed. We are not ashamed anymore. You are really advocating. It's not weakness, it's strength, even to say
Absolutely.
about that, right? So actually, this Pishcast won the breakthrough podcast of the year in the huge film festival City of Angel in Los Angeles, and they know my story, and I still so boldly, honestly about this every single time when I can go out and say it's not for gaining visibility, or like Mrs. World Congeniality, actually what you were asking me for, right? I was also open about my disorder and everything from the day not one when we were in this very big competition. It's 80 countries representing their best ladies, queens. And I was there not to compete, I was to contribute, and I was to serve the community. Actually, it was also global stage for me to raise awareness about mental health and emotional regulation, and even not just raise awareness, but even to create impact that, you know what, with right tools, right context, right leadership, you can even change not just your life, which is quite challenging sometimes with neurodivergence, because you don't fit in the neurotypical systems. You feel every single day that if you were questioning all your life that what's wrong with me and how I can fix my brain to fit in the system. But now
Right.
I'm changing, and I'm learning the
Fix the system.
top executives who are working with me, like, no, you know what, you can look at yourself, how you can leverage your superpowers,
Right.
really, because we propel the society. We are most innovative and creative, crazy minds, but ironically enough, we don't fit in. Like I said, we're stuck on the fridge, it's killing us. It should not be like that. The system should evolve, two-way street, not just us fixing and
Right.
like really breaking our brain all the time. And you know what, you say, oh,
O-
OCS,
CEO
right?
or
I
OCS. Yeah.
OCD, right? So for me, even okay, I have some. If you see, I have some tattoos, but they're deeply spiritual, right? It's my evolvement last year, and I think the next one will be, it will be OC delicious.
OC delicious.
OC delicious, yes, like
That's
OCD, like not just delicious, OC delicious. Yes,
delicious.
why?
Yeah.
Because
Why
of
not?
that, actually, I think because of that I could adopt two kids. I speak 6 languages. I've been living in different countries. I've done actually so much, I think, another different stuff, right? And okay, and of course I could experience a lot of adversity as well, but now I'm so grateful that I could turn it into creative fuel, first of all, to find the way to leader myself, and now to, I hope to set the example and to help other people.
Yeah. Let me just say to our listening audience, if anybody who's been diagnosed with a label, you're not defective. None of us are defective. We're not broken. We're not outcasts. We might feel like we're outcasts. Everybody feels at times, like we're outcasts. But all these labels that end in that D, the disorder or defective kind of thing, please don't feel defective. You have a superpower. Let's change those D's to S's, superpowers, whether it's ADD, which actually both of those D's are no good. So just attention superpower, obsessive compulsive superpower, or any of the other superpowers, right? Your brains work different. That's why the neurodiversity just means that our nervous system, brains, central nervous systems, they just function a little bit differently. Our DNA is a little differently. The brain chemistry is a little differently. The neuro connections are a little different. And it's not a weakness. It's not a defect. It's a superpower. And if we just learn how to use our superpowers for good, I think that's how we're going to really fulfill our purposes, our calling in life, and lead happy, successful, fulfilled lives.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's my every single day passion and calling and mission now. And yes, I do really believe that future belongs to the societies where we can really be not like on the paper or on a checkbox, like inclusive, right? But we can really harness the full spectrum of human intelligence. And it's so beautiful. And neurodiversity, it's actually this door opener to look on us. And actually 20% of population are neurodivergent. And can you imagine that 20% of us who are actually just identified? How many people in the countries like Africa, Asia, a lot of countries, they have no possibility of all of these people to get access, to be identified, to get diagnosis, right? So, and actually in Gen Z, now every fifth citizen already neurodivergent, and it's just scaling. So actually it's mental uniqueness, and we have to approach it not from this deficit based model, right, but from really advantage and strength based model. But for that we have to really understand and work systematically, proactively, how we can change environments, right? And sometimes we don't have to really make like major adjustments. It just, even we can start with awareness, and like if every leader can in every interaction start not from judgmental approach, because we have a lot of biases, we have a lot of still taboo, stigma, prejudice, especially against what if something or somebody different, right? Always fear and danger, and you want distance instead of actually, but what if you can just take these glasses of your bias and be more open and put your beginners, or sometimes even people say like kids mind, like in mindfulness, that you have to have this beginner's mind, that you still can be so open and you can empathize before actually judge. If you just try sometimes, okay, see at another person and start from empathizing approach, not judgmental approach, then I think this is the most important for every leader now, to operate from this not judgmental approach and to be aware and conscious about that. Because so many neurodivergent people like me, we are so tied to over mask, over perform, over please, right? Because we are so afraid that again and again all these judgmental approaches and society, and for us it's so super toxic, because we already like felt so many years like guilty and shame because we are different,
right?
So I think really for all leaders, I really back and encourage, just try sometimes another approach, not judgmental, not what you believe that 100%. No, sometimes really look at this person who challenge your perspective. Yes, we do, but it's how actually we can be innovative and creative, right? Because we don't do and don't approach actually solutions from the ordinary perspective. We have this divergent thinking, and so many neurodivergent people, they excel in like system thinking and pattern recognition, risk anticipation, divergent approaches from different like crazy angles, right? So if you can harness it and leverage in your team, oh my god, this is really sustainable competitive advantage for any company, any team, family, community.
You're absolutely right. So tell us about your from OCD to PhD. Is this what is this concept here? How do we help ourselves to get some value from that that concept?
Yeah, actually, it's so fun because it was the title of my TED talk, which was born while I was in mental institution, and the journey between patient and doctor. It was kind of target and dream on whatever, but now we know the power of manifestation and the law of attraction. So everything what you really can manifest, you start like really planning and working towards your goals. So it's very, very important to have like clear purpose and goals for especially leaders. They are making this visibility and responsibility for other to follow, right? So for me it was kind of go out and teach people, look at me. Yes, I'm Mrs. World Congeniality. Yes, I was walking all these huge stages on fashion weeks, and I'm presenting big brands, but now look at me, I'm sitting in very cozy pajama in mental institution. And 6 months later I was again on the red carpet on Cannes Festival, right, and presenting big designer for sustainable fashion again. But I wanted to say it's like from OCD to PhD or between. Actually, it's like impermanent, it's not static. I have to work with my leadership skill every single day. And then I came to framework because it is also part of my PhD and the program which I'm teaching now top executives, and I'm mentoring them, especially who has neurodivergence or they want to understand how to leverage and harness the superpowers of their employees neurodivergence, right? But for me, it's not, I don't say easier, but I think it's more clarity for me how they can do it, how actually I can teach people, because it's my lived story. It is every single day what I'm experiencing. It's not like I'm just making research. I'm not
Right.
just research. This is really, really my story. I even had to change the subject of my thesis and the whole procedure with being a doctor. I postponed because of that. But I create very nice method which is called D5E enablers method, and it's both of them. It's enablers for self leadership, like inner leadership, and out leadership, 5 enablers for a corporate context. And I'm even more happy that I found my partner, business partner, and also a very good friend. She's also neurodivergent. I have OCD and she has ADHD, and we really met each other, like on this path, because she wanted to get more maybe visibility and to go with her product to the world, and I needed more like structure, because I'm like fire, I'm like everywhere. I need more container and depth, and we really like contribute in the way that it's 7 weeks module, and she's teaching 5 weeks, actually from the very, very humble beginners, like people really they don't know how to regulate emotions, how to read the energy patterns, how they should track actually how they function, cognitive executive function, a lot of these things. And then I'm coming with my 2 modules, and the first one is called the 5E Enabler Sustainability Engine. How after we plant the seeds of awareness into them, how they actually sustainably can use this engine that they are running without burnout,
Right.
what they may be doing so many years, over masking, over performing, over pleasing. And these 5E, which in my module, it's empathize, evolve, evaluate, enhance, and empower. And this is really the pathway from unconscious performance to sustainable conscious leadership, right? And then, like I already said, that the very first one is empathize, that you should start from not judgmental approach, but really, really compassionate way, but first of all towards yourself, because we are the most harsh critics, right? Oh, 7 languages.
Self-critics, yeah.
Here. So so now, like basically my why, like Valeriya, what are you doing now? Like, so you have to be your greatest ally, first of all, towards yourself.
Right.
I could not be so many years. I was so harsh to myself, but I had no idea that we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions. We actually can regulate it and detach from it, right? We can just be.
That's a step worth repeating, and that is that we do have control over our thoughts. We have control over our emotions. And that for me, that took, that was only a realization that I came to just a few years ago. So almost 50 years of my life lived believing that my emotions were the result of external factors and other people's, comments and external things. And just to realize that I can control my emotions, I can control my thoughts, was huge. And I think that self-empathy, let's start with having some empathy, have some compassion upon ourselves, and then as well as have that empathy on other people. So I like that's number one, is to empathize. And I like that be your greatest ally. So I like to say in leadership, we need to think of ourselves as our partner. Like I am, as a leader, I am your partner in your success, but I'm also my partner in my own success, right? So I need to be a partner with myself in my own success, be my own ally. So I like that. That's a great way of looking at it. So tell us so it's empathy, and then what comes next? Evolve?
Yes, next it's come evolve, and then we have already touched upon that it's about lifetime learning, right? It's every single day you have to gain new knowledge, new perspective, insights, but also it's critically important to unlearn the patterns which don't serve you anymore, because you are evolving all the time. And
Right.
actually maybe unconscious bias that even like you have brilliantly shared now, that most part of your life you believed you were your emotions and you were your thoughts and you could not change them, right? But now, after actually you have been discovered, maybe the game changer of your life, no, you can change the approach to your emotions and to your thoughts, and you are not them. You even like in meditation and in Buddhism and all these religions, you can just actually really by detachment, but practicing, you can just be observant. You can take distance. You don't have to react. It's like overstimulation all the time. You can breathe, pause, and choose how you are engaging with your emotions and your thoughts. And sometimes you can choose not be engaged at all,
Right.
because they're passing. Everything shall pass.
Yeah.
Absolutely. King Solomon from Bible, everything shall pass, right? That's why you have to cherish happy times, because they also shall pass.
In the past. That's
But
true.
also, yeah, but painful moments, sometimes when you are in them, it's almost impossible to believe that this pain can go over, but it's also shall pass. But
Yeah.
when you know that you can detach, actually you don't have to be immediately like even like statements, I am sad. No, you can be, yes, this is sadness, I can witness, I can observe, but this sadness is impermanent. It just state where I am, it will pass, right?
Yeah. That's a huge realization, especially for people who've been through some deep trauma or deep loss. And I will tell you that, in my life, I remember when my son had passed away, and I felt like that pain was never going to get any better. That grief, that depression was never going to lift at all. And I remember reaching out to my aunt. Now, my aunt had lost her son when he was a teenager, and then she lost her husband, my uncle, just a few years later. And I remember reaching out to her, and she said, Joe, it doesn't seem like it's ever gonna get better, but it will. The pain gets a little less painful, and it gets a little easier to carry. And I remember shaking my head, being like, I can't even imagine this, but I have to believe it, because this is my aunt. Like I lost my cousin, I lost my uncle, and I see her, she's still breathing. And just the fact that people could lose their child and still continue to breathe and live and work and function, was motivation for me to just keep surviving, just keep breathing another day. And it might feel like you cannot take another breath, but just keep taking the next breath. It does get easier, it does get better. There is hope. Life can be happy again. And I still experience grief and sadness. And I think accepting that grief and sadness when I experience it, and being willing to just feel it, is a step in the process of coping with it. And I allow myself to feel the pain, feel the discomfort, feel the mourning and the grief. And I also allow myself to feel happiness and joy and peace and comfort and fulfillment, as I work to make other people's lives better, to have an impact on this world, to make the world a better place. I feel a sense of fulfillment. I'm here on a mission, and fulfilling that mission is, it gives me a great sense of fulfillment, that inner sense of, I would say that exceeds happiness. It's self-actualization. It's me living by a higher purpose. So thank you. Thanks for letting me take that little side
No,
there.
so much. I cherish it so deeply that you decided to already, first of all, share this story today a little bit earlier, because we had this very honest conversation, and I don't take it as granted at all. And for me, I do believe so strongly that both you and me, we are on a mission, really. And we even maybe don't know, like, directly, immediately, what kind of impact we are doing by being so honest, right? And actually going through all this, because that and all this adversity and pain, I've been through so much. Also, I was so close to die, to suicidality, because I had so many suicidal thoughts and tendencies when I was experiencing my first intrusive thoughts. I was working in the orphanage with babies. I adopted my first kid. She was just a baby, and one day, all of a sudden, I remember so good that it's just 1 second, it came this intrusive thought that I started hurting and harming babies. And now I know, because it's OCD, it's obsessive compulsive disorder, it's compulsions, it's actually the signals of your brain that now actually I'm taking seriously, when our brain really, overstimulated, and we have so much cognitive overload. It's kind of signal from my brain, because it's wired different, that Valeriya, you have to stop, it's red light, it's too much. But at that time, I had no idea how to cope with that. I had no idea about detachment, and that I, of course, believe my thoughts, it's my identity. And I believe if I got these thoughts, actually, so I'm so bad person on the earth that I am not worthy to live anymore. However, I can even think about harming babies, because every single summer I was back to Ukraine. I was working voluntarily with all these babies. I decided to adopt. It was my biggest dream and goal since I was 15 years of age. And maybe not maybe, but at that time also I was so emotionally dysregulated, and hormone dysregulation after 4 attempts to get pregnancy through them, how you call it,
In vitro fertilization.
yeah. And it's actually was, so harmful impact on my holistic approach of health, but I didn't know at that time. So I was actually already kind of at the edge, right? And then I was working so hard with all this baby, and one day it was my system actually kind of tried to stop and protect me. But how could I know 17 years ago that actually by this mechanism, my brain, which is wired differently, tried to send me some signals, so it was it was so painful. So I believed, I went to church, I was praying, because I do believe strongly in God. I was talking to priests. I even could not pronounce and actually share to priest what I start experiencing. I was so ashamed. I felt so much guilt, and I made it so huge taboo and stigma. I could not open even to my mother, and I could not recognize and acknowledge to myself what actually is going on. So one day I decided, no, I have to commit suicide, because maybe next step will be impulse to harm babies,
Right.
So I went through all this, and at that time, I swear to God that I became crazy. There's something wrong with me, and it will never ever be normal Valeriya again. And it was the first time I ended up in mental institution. And I remember
And you
so
put yourself in a mental institute. You called them yourself. You drove yourself there. So that's a
yeah,
huge step. That realization and that
yeah.
desire, just that awareness to say, hey, you know what? I need help. I'm going to go get help. And that's a huge step. And I would just, that's a takeaway for everybody. If it's important, get help. If it's important, get help. That's it, plain and simple. Our mental health is important to us. Our physical health, our well-being is important to us. If we're not able to do it on our own, it's okay. It's okay to get help because it's important. And to just make that phone call, take that step, to take that drive, to get the help that we need. Life is valuable. And I just want to say to the entire audience that's listening to us, the world's a better place with you in it. So stay here in it. Get the help you need to stay in it. Don't commit suicide, and don't try to exit. Stay here with it. Trust me, it'll get better. You can get better. There's definitely ways to overcome any challenges, any struggles, emotional struggles. There's ways to overcome. So hang in there, and hopefully this is a word of encouragement to our audience here today. So we do have to wrap it up. We've been on this, we're going on almost an hour now. We have to wrap it up. I do want to recommend to everybody a book that's been a big like eye opener for me, and it's a book called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Daniel Amen. It really goes over a lot of different things that we would diagnose as challenges, and anxiety, depression, obsession, lack of focus, anger, memory, basically how the brain functions, and how to work towards strengthening those parts of our brains, and really just understanding that neurodiversity a little bit better. I like a lot of stuff by Daniel Amen. Hopefully our audience can listen to it. Any parting words that you want to say to our audience, and how do we get in touch with you? How do we find out more about you, your programs? How can we listen more to you, hear your podcast? Tell us, how do we get in touch with you? And like I said, any parting words you have.
Thank you so much, first of all, for sharing this, very special platform space for me today, where I felt so aligned with my energy to share my story. I always feel so grateful and in a huge respectness towards people like you, who are really making this impact by investing our times now. And we know we have like millions of things we could prioritize, right? But actually, at the end of the day, we should answer like authentically, what is our purpose? What is our calling, mission, vision in this life? And I think both you and me, we are so aligned that we are on a mission, and we are impacting people by actually our stories. I do believe in the power of stories, right? That's how actually, that's why we still love books, because all this scrolling and all this digital stuff, it's one thing, it's very effective, but I do believe every single book is a live entity, has soul, right? And when I'm touching, like, it's a story. And and for your audience, I would like, and for my audience as well, to understand that your history doesn't determine you, but your story does, and you can change it every single day. And with the brain, maybe for neurodivergent people, you cannot entirely change your brain, because yes, neuroplasticity, you can slightly change, but not totally, but you can change how you engage with your brain. Actually, we have been discussing that, and I would like to dismantle this myth again and again, that neurodiversity or any kind of uniqueness or difference, not weakness, it's always uniqueness, is your strength. Right. And be unique and authentic. Really believe this is your superpower, and stay with it. It's actually the greatest what you can do on this earth, to be upper version of yourself. So right. If you have more question about my story, so please, I do love direct message, and I do love interacting with people, because I do believe in every single interaction we are both students and teachers, learning all the time, never a failure, always a lesson. So please follow me. It's Mrs. World Congeniality, Valeriya Hjertenaes on Instagram or LinkedIn, Valeriya Hjertenaes. Valeriya Impact Global, also my homepage. And now, especially today, we start launching already our very transformational program, me and my business partner, Claire Z, about how you can really start from yourself, feeling like more aligned with your core values, and should not be really anymore over masking, over pleasing, and start actually treating yourself like your biggest aligned hero, being so unique like
Yeah.
me and her. So we all on a mission here on this world, and I think that one daily practice for everybody, like I said, not be harsh and judgmental, first of all, to yourself. Just take a pause, breathe, and be grateful, not react, respond. Because one word which I do believe can define sustainable future leadership, it's awareness and compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, and I thank you so much for joining us. I know it's like at this point it's almost probably after 11 o'clock at night out by you, so it's been a long day for you, and thank you for the courage and the passion to stick with it and stay energized throughout our podcast. So we really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing great things in the future, and let's make this world a better place, especially for neurodiversity. Like, just have some compassion, understanding on other people and what's going on inside of our own brains, what's going on inside of other people's brains, and really see this diversity as superpowers. Everybody has their superpower. Everybody's on a mission. Everybody has their own life purpose. And let's not judge others. Let's just be encouraging and be our own allies for ourselves. Let's be allies of each other, our own partners in each other's success, and together make the world a better place. So, Valeriya, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing more of you soon. And we'll be following you on Instagram and LinkedIn, and when you get your podcast, is your podcast up and running already, or is that something that's coming out soon?
No, diversity is the game changer. You can follow you, and of course, I would be more than honored to host you and dive into your story and play some little games. So I always play in the end of my podcast. It's a fun, also it's profound, deep, but also joyful. And I wish us that we are not just following each other, but let's really make more impact and create impactful, strong, collaborative magic.
Absolutely. I like
because
that.
United we are stronger, and we also have our common friend Tatiana, right? It's how we be connected. So I wish us more opportunity to meet in reality, where we can also use all our five senses, right?
Yeah,
And
be in the same,
to
be in the
make
same
even
place at the same time.
contagious impact and togetherness.
That'd be
That's
awesome.
my
I'm in.
so much
Let's do
again.
it. All right. Thank you so much. And to our audience, thanks for joining us once again on the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp. I am your host. This has been episode 7. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back again next week. And please subscribe and follow us. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much again. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching our podcast of the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, president and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. That's beauchampteam.com. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in being a guest or a sponsor of this program, please give me an email at info@beauchampteam.com. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and discuss options and how it can work something out for everyone to win. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.